In this segment of the bullet writing class, we will discuss using the ABS method to streamline your bullet. Here we rely on being accurate, brief, and specific in our statements. We will also cover the appropriate use of abbreviations and acronyms. Before we're done with this segment, we will work through a practice scenario and show how we can put the entire process together. So what you can see here that we've done is we've highlighted some of the areas that Master Sergeant Taylor has kind of drawn from in this scenario. Why do you think that we might want to keep Incirlik Air Base in the bullet?
Broad impact. It's impacting the entire air base.
Right. And what if this isn't something that's at that base, right? This has gone home on a Form 77. Yeah, she's initiated a major program, but she could be back at her home unit.
Well, that's a
pretty big deal, especially when they're looking at packages, deployment histories, and things. So that might be a reason, but for this, we're going to assume that it is written at Incirlik so that we can get some of our characters back, you know? And then we're going to take a look at this kind of like your oil change. You go in, do you want the good, better, or the best? So we'll look at one where we kind of just took the facts. What do you think about this one?
It's weak.
It's weak. Why do you say that?
There's no numbers.
No numbers. Well, there's a 9.
Well, yeah, there's a number there.
But it doesn't pop.
Specificity, though.
It doesn't pop, right? And when they developed the 9 products, did the 9 products win the contest? Did each of them win a contest? You know, it's
not specific.
It's not specific, exactly. So what do we think about this one?
See, we're getting there. Still missing numbers. How many TV and radio commercials were produced?
Yeah. And again, when we talked about earlier about understanding what the Little Brown Book says of our rank, these are very task-driven and almost to that individual. As a Master Sergeant, she should be mentoring and guiding and managing and leading and bringing teams together. You know, not just doing it herself as a worker bee, where, my opinion, if you read this, it's kind of where it sounds like it is, that it was her one and only, and we can see that she had to collaborate with various organizations in there. So what do we think about this one?
That's pretty good.
A lot better, spearheaded. It gets your attention. It shows that she took that initiative. She's out there doing what she needs to do. Shows that there was radio and TV ads. The immediate result from this, or the impact, is that she #1 broadcast campaign in the Air Force Media Contest, and then ultimately the greatest asset that we have are that the DUIs are down 35%. And as we look at this, can we take this and possibly break it into 2 different things?
Definitely could.
Yeah, right. We could take the media contest as one of the major results based off the actual products she built, and then maybe using that Master Sergeant senior NCO level responsibility of the collaboration with the other units. You can break it down into, now it's about the DUI campaign. Now it's about saving lives across the entire airbase. And so we can really highlight some of these accomplishments and break it up and give it the due notice that it needs. All right, well, now I am going to unleash you on your own. So what we're going to do is we've got a couple of scenarios that we're going to go through. So team up, the 2 of you and the 2 of you, and we will work through this next scenario. And for you watching it here with us, go ahead and take a time to pause and work together. Welcome back. Hopefully you've enjoyed a little bit of that exercise. I know this is a little bit hard, but trust me, as we get through our practice, it will make it easier. So when we look here at what Staff Sergeant Robinson has stepped up to do to supervise, we're pulling out some of the key information. So here we're going to use the deployment of 3 radio technicians, 85 separate pieces of equipment located at 3 remote locations, and resulted in 0 mission delays at those 3 sites. Can you tell from the scenario where Staff Sergeant Robinson is physically located? Not really, right? And so in that aspect, USAFE and the use of it may actually be a big deal. If he's in USAFE and that's already up on his form, we may have gained ourselves some characters, right? But we can't tell. What if he's sitting in Langley and he deployed these airmen, right? And so those are some of the things as we work through that's that conversation that you have with those airmen to make sure that you're properly being able to show them. And then, you know, as a staff sergeant, he stepped up to supervise. So when we go through some of our sample bullets, we'll want to address that as well, that he's stepping up. A staff sergeant and a new NCO needs to be doing these things. So let's look at some of the things that you've come up with. So supervised deployment of 3 radio techs enabled repair of 85 equipment items, allowed percent 100 mission capability for 3 USAFE sites. So we see here in a little, tongue-in-cheek that we can make some changes to our abbreviations.
Ooh, forward-thinking, Chief.
Forward thinking, is that what it is? So we'll just move this over here. But that's a great way, because again, remember, we talked about that positive thought and that positive thinking on what words mean. 0 mission delays or 100% mission capable is still saying the same thing, just a little bit of a different connotation. Here we use numbers. And so we can look at our next example as well. Led deployment of 3 radio techs, 85 pieces of equipment, 3 USAFE locations, 0 mission delays. Again, not untrue. It's just a different way of putting it out. And here we have written out 3. Here we have written out 85. So when you look at the tongue and quill, it talks about numbers 9 and below. You want to write them out. That kind of goes out the window when it comes to EPRs, especially if you think about the number 3. That's 5 characters. If you've got a lot of that qualitative and quantitative information that you need to add in there, it may be something that you think about not using the 3 and using the number 3. Something else just to identify here is the difference between using supervised and led. Do those mean the same thing? Would I be asking it if it did? That's kind of a stump question there. But when you have your leadership looking at these, they actually do mean different things. If you think about supervised, I'm handing you a subordinate. Whether you like it or not, you're supervising this individual. So it could be for one task. It could be just for a rating period. That supervised really doesn't define what Sergeant Robinson is doing to step up. And when you think about led or lead, that really shows there's an affective behind that word that says that they are leading the charge, not just managing a resource. The go-to guy, and he has stepped up to do it. So just something to think about, words mean things, is that I see a difference when we look at supervised and led, and it really shows that as a staff sergeant, he is stepping up and he is doing what we need to do. All right, so I can't let you get away with just one scenario today. So what we put up was supervised deployment of 3 radio technicians, enable repair of 85 pieces of equipment, 0 mission delays at 3 sites. Between the group of us, we've all come up with those basic information on what we needed to do to show what Staff Sergeant Robinson is doing. So those are great examples that we have. Scenario 2. Go ahead and pause again and take time to work within your groups to show what Senior Airman Manning has done within his career. Practice makes perfect. In previous segments, we covered extracting the facts, constructing the bullet, and polishing the bullet. Let's do some more practice by writing some additional bullets based on these scenarios. It's important to remember that there is no right or wrong answer, but everyone deserves a supervisor who can clearly show how their airmen's actions have impacted the organization and contributed to the mission accomplishment. Welcome back. Again, you will see here that we're going to point out some of the highlights here from Senior Airman Manning's paragraph. Why don't you all tell me what you found important?
The fact that he had completed 96 of those 137 tasks there and did so in what looks like 9 days worth of time.
All right, very good. What other items in this paragraph kind of caught your eye?
The number of tasks.
The number of tasks, okay.
Number of patients he saw.
The number of patients, the 176 patients in the vital sign station. What about this information? What are we going to do with this?
The fact that
We're going to ask some questions.
There we go.
Uh-oh.
This is going to stir a conversation because we're looking at a senior airman. He's cross-trained, so he's got some previous unit experience coming to you. So his enrollment in college. What do we care about when it comes to this college class?
is his
Does
class
it pertain
going toward his, he's getting there, toward his AFSC?
It could be, right? Is he going for a CCAF? It's great if you want a bachelor's. But further along down his career, we need to be thinking about his CCAF. So does he know what those 5 classes outside of his AFSC specialty require of him to get the CCAF? So the conversation. Here in the enlisted council, it's not really telling you what he's doing. Is he a member? Is he a board? Is he part of a committee? So now we're looking at that whole airman concept. And also making sure that he's balancing that life and work. And that, you know, is he having the resiliency? And we want to make sure that he's not getting burnt out by trying to do too much while he's learning a new job, right? So here you can see that we did highlight 90 seasoning days, and that he was able to complete 96 of 137 tasks, and he's on track for being awarded his 5 level. So let's see what you came up. We'll start over here first this time. Completed 90-day seasoning program, achieved 70% of his tasks, and on track for 5 level. Tells you exactly what he did, right? We converted these numbers to say 70%. That's a pretty strong number. This might be a little bit important when you look at, you know, if that's 137 tasks, that's a huge task. Well, what if his AFSC only has like 9? And you say, oh, he completed 8 of 9 tasks. And you're like, you couldn't finish the 1. But if we say 70%, we're able to kind of highlight that they were able to accomplish some things.
Not minimizing the number.
But what might be missing here when we talk about our action, our impact, and our result?
That bigger picture?
The bigger picture. So this is showing what he's done for himself as an individual, but what does this really all mean? And I think you highlighted it here, although we have another tenaciously example with expeditiously accomplished 96 of 137 tasks in 90 days, provided aid to 176 patients, ensuring unit readiness and posturing. If we get Senior Airman Manning to really understand what his big picture is, it's not just a vital signs. I've worked the vital signs station in a physical situation, and you're just like, next, next. And if you're doing that for a couple of months, you start to get a little bit of a burnout. But if you're able to show your airmen what an impact of taking those vital signs mean and how it fits into the big picture of our overall health and fitness and our wellness and readiness, then I think that's where we can do it. And we're able to do that within this bullet. So what we came up with was eagerly completed 96 of 137 tasks in 90 days, assisted 176 patients, increasing unit readiness and deployment capability. So we're starting to bring this all back into this big picture. So, but for one, we're going to do one more. I know you can do this. So we're going to look at what Staff Sergeant Johnson is bringing to the table. Go ahead and pause this one last time and work on this scenario together. Welcome back. Hopefully this last scenario has you feeling really good about how you're doing here in the class. So what we're going to look at is Staff Sergeant Johnson and his commitment to excellence in getting that CCAF. So some of the key areas that we pulled out, he's notified that he made the Dean's List after completing both classes with a 4.0, and he'll receive his CCAF diploma in the spring. So let's see what we have here. We have completed 2 classes, 6 semesters for the CCAF, garnered, nice word, 4.0 GPA / Dean's List, achieved associate's degree in electronics and communications. We can clearly see here what they did, what the immediate impact was, and then what that overall big picture result was. Here, superbly, I like it, good. Completed 2 classes, 6 semesters with a 4.0 GPA Dean's List, met requirements for CCAF in electronics. We've been talking about a 3-part bullet, and here you have it as a 2-part bullet. This is still showing what that action, impact, and result. And according to our tongue and quill, this is totally acceptable. But as you can see, we can still break it up and show it in that 3-part bullet. So all we would do with your different one here is that we could take out this with, put our semicolon in, and then our double dash would go after here at the list, and you have that solid 3-part bullet that's able to break it up and walk someone through it. And we have a very similar one. This is very easy when you have an airman who is giving you all this information, and that makes it easier to write. And just so that we can show you that our examples do fit within the EPR blocks here, that you can use it all on one line. 1206s have a little bit more of a spacing that actually gives you more area to cover, a few more characters, so that's great. But for my old school people, some of you are twitching out there. I know you are, don't deny it. What is this?
White space.
White space. And everyone shudders at this white space. But what we need to understand is there's nothing wrong with this. We have been able to show that we are clearly highlighting and identifying what our airmen are doing. We're showing that action, that impact, and that result. We got this at the unit level. Do we need to add some extra fluff in there just so that we can say we got it to the end of the line? The other part of this is that there is a reason, and you can see on the new forms, minimum of 1 line, but limited to 6. That is giving you the opportunity to not have to fill in every single block so that we're not over embellishing. We're being honest. You will have those airmen that will do their 8 and hit the gate. And that is okay, as long as we're defining what they're doing and we're giving them the proper due that they have deserved. But you're gonna have that 15% that's out there in your wing, and they are rocking it. And they are going to give you and fill up every EPR and 1206 line that you possibly can go to. So do not stress over this evil thing that we have learned to call white space. It's actually in our Airman's Handbook that this is okay. But I encourage you as supervisors to make sure that you are doing your due diligence to have these conversations. Find out from your senior airman manning what they're doing with the junior enlisted council, what they're doing with their nursing degree, and are they leading that towards being a bigger and better airman out there.